Presidents of the United States of America with their self-titled debut album. In the opening, oh wait, we got to do the songs. In the opening montage, you heard "Lump," and now you're going to hear "Peaches."
Peaches come from a can. They were put there by a man in a factory downtown. And if I had my little way, I'd eat peaches every day. Sun-soaking bulges in the shade.
All right, so Presidents of America 441 in the 1990s on Best Ever Albums, number 52 in 1995, number 2,481 of all time. It is their highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. Did not make Rolling Stone's list. Presidents of the United States of America ranked number 1,692 of overall artists' rankings on Best Ever Albums. So like I said, this is their debut record, released on March 10th, 1995. Genres, alternative rock. Influenced by such artists as the Pixies, Nirvana, Primus, The Replacements, They Might Be Giants, REM, Violent Femmes, and the Buzzcocks. Artists that they influenced include Alien Ant Farm and Gym Class Heroes. Their highest charting album is this debut album. It did hit number 6 in the U.S. charts. And their highest charting single is "Lump," which hit number 21 in the U.S. So a little history. They were formed in Seattle in 1993 by guitarist and vocalist Chris Ballou, I should say, and bassist David Detterer. And they met each other in school. Ballou had previously been in a punk busker band called Egg. That's kind of like, I didn't know punk bands bust.
Yeah.
Like that's
I mean, kind of they do, but just to their own people. DIY, you know?
Right.
So.
Yeah. So they did perform several live shows as a duo under the name The Lo-Fis, The Dynamic Duo, and Pure Frosting. And then Ballou came up with the Presidents of the United States of America name. They later added drummer Jason Finn, and he previously played drums for a band called Love Battery. So they record. I like this. They recorded a 10-song demo cassette called Froggy Style, which many of these songs actually were on Froggy Style. So it kind of brought it back for more of a professional production. They signed with Pop Llama Records and began work on this record. And after the release, they signed a deal with Columbia, who increased the distribution of the record. They released a couple of videos. The video for "Lump," the lead single, was directed by Francis Ford Coppola's son, Roman. Fun fact there. Second video for this. There was a second video for "Lump" that was filmed, but it did not play on MTV as it was, quote, too disturbing.
Well, the first one's just them in like a bog, isn't it, or something like that?
Yes, I believe that's.
Okay.
The song "Peaches" was nominated for a Grammy for Best Pop Performance by a Group or Duo with Vocal. So the song "Peaches," the story behind that, it actually came from two different stories involving Ballou, which the first one took place in Boston after he took LSD and he went to the house of a woman that he was attracted to. And after knocking on her door and not receiving an answer, he decided to wait for her underneath a nearby peach tree. And according to Ballou, quote, "There were peaches that had fallen that were in various stages of decay, and I just started squeezing the peaches and mixing it with my desire for the girl and the desire for the peaches." So that was an LSD trip he had there. And the second incident occurred later when Ballou had moved back to Seattle. He was waiting for a bus and he overheard a homeless man repeatedly mutter under his breath, "I'm moving to the country. I'm going to eat a lot of peaches." And the phrase originally appeared in the 1971 song "Spanish Pipe Dream" by John Prine, which we covered back in season 2 of CTS.
Wow. Yep.
The chorus of that song included a reference to that. So, yep, very much so. I like this. In 1996, MTV aired a previously recorded live concert from Mount Rushmore for President's Day with Presidents of the United States of America. They did release 3 more albums, 2, Pure Frosting and Freaked Out and Small. Pure Frosting contained a cover of the video, a cover of the song "Video Killed the Radio Star," which was used in "The Wedding Singer." and the song called "Cleveland Rocks," which was used in the Drew Carey Show, the main theme song for the Drew Carey Show. And I guess that song was originally written and recorded by the artist Ian Hunter. They had a demo album for a collaboration with Sir Mix-a-Lot called Subset. Never really kind of made its way out there, but they did start working together. Thought that was kind of funny. The Presidents did break up in 2000, but reformed in 2003. They took on a new bassist named Andrew McCaig, as Dederer wanted to spend more time with his family. They had a 6th album in 2014 and then broke up in 2015. They've all had various side projects, including Dederer and Finn, who played with Duff McKagan's band, The Gentlemen, and Dederer also played in Duff McKagan's band, Loaded. They also, one thing, I did remember seeing this in the videos, the band was notable for their modified stringing of the instruments. They used a reduced number of unusually heavy strings. So Baloo's
Didn't play like a 2-string bass or something?
Yeah, Baloo
Yes.
guitarist. The guitarist Baloo's configuration was called a bassitar, which was a two-string bass. Excuse me, he was the bassist.
I remember that for whatever
And
reason.
Yeah, Dederer used a git bass, which was a 3-string guitar.
I didn't know they had a 3-string guitarist.
Yes,
I just remember the bass. Yeah,
They both had like unique, stringing
Okay.
of their guitars. And this was interesting. It says because of these setups, these setups were such that they would always produce a chord when all the strings were held down on the same fret, regardless of which fret was used. So all you have to do is hold down on the fret, and the two of them play at the same time, and that creates a chord, which is pretty interesting tuning, actually. So, so there you go. I think the only time we're covering the Presidents, and we'll start with John this time. What'd you think, John?
Oh, I really dislike this album. I really didn't like it. It just, I've always been shocked that this band kind of has the credibility it does, because I remember hating Lump the first time I heard it. I remember hating Peaches the first time I heard it. I was reminded that this band had a habit of covering songs I like and just not making it appealing. I think there was a video Killed the Radio Star I remember they did one time that I hated, and they have an MC5 cover here, Kick Out the Jams, which sucks.
Yeah, they do.
Any and all of the original spirit of that is there. Is this that nerd rock genre that They Might Be Giants, or pop culture referencey, quirky Ween, right? I think is that is a lane of music that does not appeal to my sensibilities. I found these songs boring. I found the lyrics inane, but not even in a funny or clever way. I guess, even though I hate it, a song like Constantinople song by They Might Be Giants, where they say the ancient, I guess I can even appreciate that for the fact that there's a intelligence to it, but it's not for me, but whatever. But the lyrics of this were terrible. The tracks were boring. The lead singer's voice just was the same on the first song came on, I literally thought it was Lump. I just was is this Lump but with just alternate version of the lyrics? And I was like, oh no, this must be what they sound like. And they changed it up every once in a while, but for the most part, it was 9 tracks that sounded like Lump to me. Along the way, all of them have little. They all sound like little mini, LSD trips, but also with quirky stories. And I don't know, man. There's a lane for that. Flaming Lips, is a much better, I take LSD lane for me than this, I have, if there is one genre that continues to elude me and I can't find any albums of the sort that I enjoy, it is what I call nerd rock. And when I say nerd rock, I'm not talking about what Rivers Cuomo does, right? Where he himself might be nerdy, but he still plays big freaking riffs and stuff, and I love him for that, on the early albums. But this is They Might Be Giants, Ween, Bare Naked Ladies, it just doesn't appeal to me as a concept. like as a band, like an anti-band kind of would be how I'd describe the like I feel like these guys would be like shit posting on like internet forums nowadays. Like a lot of people that like these bands were on like early Usenet groups on the internet, and I think like over time, like they were the proto for like terminally online guy that like now dominates America a little bit. Like so, I don't know. I'll let you guys have the space. I'm sure there's people listening to this that are President's United States of America fan who are furiously down, putting the thumbs down on YouTube. I get it if you like this. It isn't for me. It's just completely forgettable. So thumbs down for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it nerd rock. I think it is kind of like anti-rock. I think more of that label, because these songs are more like druggy, like you said, and kind of like there's a surprising amount of like animals and insects referenced on this album.
Yes, that is true, Josh. You're right.
There's like a fractured fairy tale quality to these. They are just kind of like or like Lewis Carroll, kind of like insane. Not as well written, obviously, or Mercury, addled brain written, but interesting in that way. Fun fact, guys, I own this on tape. This is one of the first things I owned. I don't know what that says about 13-year-old
That's a fun fact, Josh.
Yeah, but I was familiar with these songs. I mean, I hadn't heard it since I had the tape of it, but for whatever reason, I guess Peaches or Lump probably got to be for some reason. And I also own the Weird Al parody song Gump, which is a parody of Lump.
Is that like Forrest Gump?
Yep. So that's where the culture was at then. But
that really is putting a hat on a hat right there.
Listen to the song. I mean, it's when you get a chance. Anyway, the alternate
Weird
tunes...
Al covering like geek rock. Yep, that makes sense.
I did pick up on the weird instrumentation. It did sound. I thought I wrote down tuning, but you said it was like less strings and like.
Well, it was down tuning. It was like because there's less strings.
Right. So I picked up on that. It's got kind of a weird like rockabilly or southern rock aspect to it at times too on the songs. They kind of also slow it down and speed it up in the same way that I would classify like early Captain Beefheart and stuff too as well. Again, not as interesting as that. I didn't hate this album in the way that John seemed to based on his review, but I wasn't okay, but I wasn't blown away by it either. I thought it was pretty average, but it had enough there, and kind of the silliness worked well enough for me. And I thought I guess the experiment, quote unquote, of the sound worked as well, but it wasn't like my favorite. I would agree with you too, John, that the Kick Out the Jams cover is awful in the middle, and you kind of I think you get the point of the band probably halfway through the album, and their music doesn't deviate too much. So I'm a firm thumbs in the middle on this album. What'd you think, Matt?
Yeah, I totally, everything that John said, it's, yes, like those other touch points, those other bands. I mean, this is a lot of Primus to me. Like, this screams Les Claypool. And I also, like, what do you guys, like, I was wondering, and it's been a while since we listened to it, but is there some Zappa in here? Like, does Zappa occupy a lane of that kind of nerd rock that you're talking about, John?
He's way more tied to the blues in my brain.
But in terms of, like, being off-kilter and quirky and, like, little, just
sensibility, sensibility. I don't, like, Zappa, I guess he could be seen as, like, a grandfather to, like, what this became, like, referential nerd, like, high IQ rock, I don't know though. Zappa was way more dangerous than these groups.
I agree,
and interesting musically too.
Yes, yeah.
I see what you're saying, Matt. Though,
I think I think that there's a similarity that's there. I mean,
well, and then the middle is, what was that band that we did on a bonus, Josh? That like 10cc is like the middle. of that and then this. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're more pop in my opinion, but
Yes.
from what I
But
remember.
yeah, I think you're right. Like band like Ween, just this quirky kind of, and definitely they might be giants.
A little bit of Pavement too, in some ways. Like,
Yeah.
they're a little like they're cooler than average nerd rock, but they have some of that same quirkiness.
Yeah. So I get that. That doesn't bother me as much as it does you. But it's also still not like my favorite lane. This record, I kind of the first time I listened to it, I was like, I think I hate this. But I liked it more. I probably listened to it about 3 or 4 times, and I liked it more as it went on. I wouldn't say that it like. I got to the point where I was like, this is just getting better. It's so good,
Yeah.
I think there's certainly elements of this that I really enjoy in other formats. Like there's a jam band vibe that I get, like a Fish vibe that I get from this as well, because Fish can get very nerdy and quirky with their stupid inane lyrics about a lot of animals, right? In the text, right, Josh?
Yeah.
But
The
I like
difference,
Fish
though-
way better than this.
Yeah, and I famously am not a Fish fan at all, but
Yeah.
I never have said Fish like wears me out like ethos wise. You know what I mean? It's more just like musically there's a lot. It just doesn't get out of it for me, but I can't believe I'm going to say this, but for me Fish is like a way cooler version of like music than this.
But it fit. But also,
But I
a
hear
lot
what
of
you're
Fish's
saying.
music
You're
is
right.
is
Yep.
instrumental. But when you listen, the lyrics
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
they're not terribly far away from this in a lot of their
Yeah.
songs. But and there's stuff like this. The beginning of the second track, Feather Plucking, there's a guitar sound in there. It's like they're kind of doing Hendrix in there.
Yeah.
That early Hendrix guitar. So
Hey Joe is what I
Right.
said. I wrote it down. Yep.
yeah. And so I think there is some interesting aspects of this record, because they're drawing from a lot of places, right? They're
Yeah.
picking up in different genres. There's some heavier stuff. I mean, they said that there were parts of like the second half of Peaches. Not Peaches. I forget one of the songs that they were like, we're trying to make this a little bit sound more like Nirvana, and making it a louder, more distorted, part of the song. So they were like drawing from that. They were drawing from the blues. They were drawing from kind of a jam band. They were drawing from country and folk. So they kind of are a little bit of a hodgepodge, which part of me, appreciates. And in a weird way, for what they're doing, I think it kind of fits well with what they're doing. I just don't know if I'm always feeling what they're putting down, right? It's not always
Right.
like I really like what they're doing. I find it kind of interesting, and I think in maybe some sort of different format, or maybe maybe stronger songs or different grooves or whatever, I think I would gravitate towards this more. So I'm probably more with Josh on this than John. I probably maybe slight. Nah, about probably slums in the middle. I would say it's just that's the thing. I don't think I could go back. I want to go back to this record at the same time. So if I'm not going back to it, is it really a thumbs up? But I would also say that if I'm in a car and somebody's like puts this on, right, I'm not going to be like, oh my god, it's not going to be a 3-6 Mafia reaction from me, right? Like I'll be like, all
where
right,
did
it's
this
got,
come from?
there's some elements within this that I can appreciate, and they do pick and choose things here and there that are from genres and sounds and stuff that I really do enjoy. And I guess some credit to them for putting all that together and kind of doing a little kind of a unique thing, but also at the same time you can kind of draw a lot of other artists that do kind of similar things. But you're right, John. That Flaming Lips is a good call there, because they do something similar, but they're Wayne Coyne's kind of a goofball, right? And you could see him very much like having similar themes in his lyrics, but musically they're way beyond, I think, what a lot of these other artists are doing, including these guys here. So
Well, and he's more psychedelic too, like crazy, Like
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, is a more appealing lane of that to me.
Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, I'm fine getting that I got to know this a little bit better, but thumbs in the middle. Yeah, that's what I was struggling with, like picking the songs. I'm like, I'm just gonna go basic here, because
Yeah.
I don't really know if I'm gonna find something that's better. So yeah, thumbs in the middle for me.
All right.